Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and welcome back to my Snare Drum of the Week series, and this is episode number 5. This week we're going to feature the Clevelander orchestral snare drum. So this is one of my favorite orchestra drums. It also actually works on drum set if you take off the orchestra snares and put some curly snares on there. It sounds pretty incredible. But I have several Bell Brass snare drums, as I'll show you as the series goes on. So there's not really a need for me to use this one over there. So today I'll give you a little tour of the drum and tell you some history of it, and I'll play it for you, but not on the kit. Like I said, I'll just play it concert style. So this drum was purchased in the late 1990s by a close friend of mine who was the principal percussionist of the Charlotte Symphony, which is the orchestra I've played with for 35 years now. I originally had two of these. I had an unfinished brass one. This one is kind of a black finish or a nickel finish, but the other one I sold to the National Symphony 3 or 4 years ago for a very hefty sum. But this is the one I kept because I think it's prettier and I think it sounds better than that one I sold, although that one sounded fantastic. But this one is a favorite of mine because I played a lot over the years with the orchestra, even before I owned it. And when my buddy retired, he sold it to me. So I believe he purchased this at a PAS convention, maybe in Atlanta in the late 90s, probably the late 90s, maybe the early 2000s. And they didn't make that many of these Bell Brass drums or Bell Bronze, not quite sure exactly. But this is number 94. So we know they made at least 94 of them. I've never seen another black one like this, ever. I've seen several of the regular brass unfinished ones. So if you have one of these, send me a picture. I'd love to see another one. So it's a 5 by 14 inch drum. And it's got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lugs, just making sure. Die-cast rims. The drum weighs 35 pounds, which makes it one of the heavier drums that I own. The 6-inch or 6.5-inch version of this thing would probably weigh 50 pounds, which is nuts. So this thing is a pain to carry around. I have to use a cart to do it. But it's built like a tank. Now we'll give you the little turntable tour here, slowly so you can see. The head I'm using on here today is a Remo skin tone head. I like these heads a lot, but a lot of times I'll use a calf skin or kangaroo skin or even a goat skin head on here. It's just this time of year. It's late fall, early winter, and kind of in North Carolina. One day it'll be humid and raining, the next day it'll be freezing. So calf heads are out for this time of year. So you see that. Now the strainer, this is the least thing I'm fond of on this drum because it comes up way too high like that. There's no need for that. They could have designed that a little differently or made it a side motion strainer. So this will get in your way if you're not careful. But I don't want to switch it out because it's all original. Now I'm going to lift this up and hopefully I won't get a hernia, but I'll show you the snares. So you see the snares there, okay? And they consist of basically three kinds of cable, 2 kinds of coated cable, and steel wire, which I consider that cable. Oh my God. Now it's only got one snare adjustment, which makes it really simple. So you set it and forget it. It doesn't give you a lot of choices like the Majestic drums or the Pearl drums where you have settings for each snare. Now you can't tension each snare separately, but I've never found that to be a problem on this drum. Now this is one of the loudest snare drums I've ever heard. So in the orchestra a lot of times we can't use this for, it's got a great range dynamically, but it's not the most delicate of drums. Now if you're playing some really loud snare drum, like some marches or Shostakovich, Prokofiev, different things, Kodai, things like that use a lot of snare drum. This is a great drum for that. It'll cut through anything. All right. Now, without muffling, it rings a lot, as you'll see. So I think that covers it all. The lugs, tension rods, they're all conventional. And today I'll have the drum tuned to, I'll hear it in a minute, but probably around an A flat to an A. G to A is my normal tuning for this drum. It doesn't sound good high. It gets choked easily. Sounds good low though. You could tune it to an F and still get a good sound out of it. Okay? So I am going to put this on a very heavy duty Pearl 1000 series stand. Try not to hurt myself. And let's see, once we get it on here, it's going to be tricky to move it. You know, I was told it weighed 35 pounds, but I've actually never weighed it. I need to stand on a scale with it because my regular small scale won't take this kind of weight. It feels like it's more like 50 pounds. Okay. So, here's the drum on a stand. I'll be playing mostly traditional today. And we'll use some muffling at some point, but I'll be playing with two kinds of sticks, a lighter pair of Cocobolo's small barrel tip, which I use a lot in orchestra playing, and then a heavy pair, 100 grams of Purple Heart when I want to get a really deep sound out of this not so deep drum. Okay. So we'll start out with it unmuffled. You'll see right away how long it rings. Now I'll play it with the really heavy sticks. And these are reverse tips. So these are normally the sticks I warm up with and work on my chops with. The reverse tip, 100 gram Purple Heart. So very heavy. But you probably already hear the thickness of the sound compared to a thinner stick. Now normally I'll play my concert snare drums right off center, except when I want a really marcato sound. Then I'll play right in the center, which is the node, the tightest part of the drum. And of course you're using the edge quite a bit on these drums. So now let's muffle it and grab these mufflers. Now I normally use two mufflers, heavy, thick leather with this because it rings so much. Of course you don't have to do that, that's just what I'm doing. And it depends on the concert hall. Our conductor, our former conductor, who's now leaving, we're getting a new conductor, he wasn't real fond of bright percussion like loud snare drum and stuff. He loved bass drum and things, but so a lot of times we would use, softer drums and some muffling. Now let me tighten the snares just a little here so you could hear what it'll sound like with more of a rudimental approach. you see how articulate it is once I tighten those snares up. So it's got a couple personalities, this drum. And just so you can hear it, I'll take one of the muffles off. Now, when you put calf heads on here, this drum will sound completely different, much darker, a little bit drier, actually, because they're a little bit thicker than this skin tone head. Now, I do have a video. It's Orchestra Snare Drums 2, Part 2, I believe, where I compare this drum to a lot of other, or several other, orchestra snare drums. So I'll put the link up here and in the description. You should check that out so you can hear this along with others, including some pearl drums and other drums, so you can see what you think as a comparison. But this drum's definitely got a loud personality. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll from time to time I'll introduce an orchestra drum into this series, trying to switch it up a little. Metal drums, wood drums, rare drums, common drums, just to make it a little more interesting. But I probably have like 30 different orchestral snare drums, so they'll sneak their way in here from time to time. So I'll play a little and we'll see you soon.